Hello everybody and welcome back. In this video, I'm going to show you how to build your very own ChatGPT clone in just under 15 minutes using Python. And the best part, we are going to do it completely for free using the Groq API, which gives you access to powerful AI models like Llama 3 and Mixtral completely for free. So if you are ready, let's get started. First of all, please make sure that Python is installed on your system. I assume that you already have Python installed. And also I'm going to use the Visual Studio Code IDE for this project. So assuming that you have the setup ready, let's get directly into our project. Now the first thing is to install the dependencies. We have to install the Groq Python SDK, which lets us connect to the Groq API. So for that, I come to my Visual Studio Code and I just expand my terminal here, and I'm going to install the Groq Python SDK with the help of the command pip install Groq. You press enter. Alright, so as you can see here, it says that it has successfully installed Groq. Okay, now that we have Groq ready, the next step is to get an API key. Now, this API key that you get from Groq is like a password which will help you connect to Groq in order to make use of their models. So for that, you have to go to console.groq.com. And when you come to console.groq.com, you will be able to see a screen like this where you can just log in with your email ID. And once you're logged in, under this API keys section, you will get an option to create API key. So you can just enter any name that you want for the API key. Let's just call it my Chatbot API key and click on submit. And there you see you have this API key generated. Now you have to copy this API key and keep it handy because we will need it inside the code that we are going to type. Alright, now that we have everything set up and ready, let's jump into Python and write the code for our chatbot. So here, coming back to my Visual Studio Code, let me just minimize the terminal, and here I'm going to create a new file. Let me call it chatbot.py, and this is where I'm going to write the code for my chatbot. So the first line of code is to import our Groq client from the Groq Python library. So for that, I type from Groq import Groq. So this imports the Groq client from the Groq Python library, and this will let us talk to Groq's AI models. Now the next step is to set up the API key. So here what we have done is we have created a client object using the API key that we got from Groq, and this will be like logging into Groq so that we can send the request. Now here you see I have not filled the API key, so for that I come to this console.groq.com where we generated the API key from Groq. So I'll just copy this, we click on copy, and I come to Visual Studio Code and I paste it over here. So here we have the API key ready, and this will let us send requests to Groq. Alright, now that we have this ready, let us print a welcome message so the user knows how to interact with the chatbot. So here I just print a welcome message saying chatbot Groq streaming, and I say type quit, exit or buy to stop. So essentially what we are going to do here is we are going to have a chatbot that is going to run in an infinite loop, because the chatbot should always be live and we should be able to ask questions to it and it should be able to give a response, and again that loop should continue again and again. And also there should be some condition which will allow us to break from that loop. So for that I am going to ask the user to either type quit, exit or buy in order to stop. So we are just displaying this first line as a welcome message on the screen. Alright, now let's come to the while loop that I was talking about. Now here I have written my while loop. So it says while true. That means this is an infinite loop that will keep on running until we explicitly break from the loop. So here I have a variable called user input, and here it is waiting for some input from the user. So in this input function, you see that this word called u colon will be displayed, and it is just going to wait for the user to supply some input, and that input will be stored into this user input, user underscore input. Now next I am going to check if the user has entered the words quit, exit or buy, because that is when we should exit or when we should break from this loop. So for that I am checking using an if condition if user input dot lower. So what I'm essentially doing is whatever the user has entered, I am converting that word to completely lowercase, because the user could enter even in uppercase, or he can enter the first letter in uppercase followed by everything in lowercase. So what we are doing is we are just converting everything to lowercase here. And then I am checking if that is in any of these words. That means if that word that the user entered is either quit or exit or buy, if it is in any of this list, then I am just printing a line saying chatbot goodbye, and I break from the loop. So if the user entered either quit, exit or buy, then we are going to break and come out of the loop. So that is how we stop the chatbot. Okay, next I am writing one more print statement which will display chatbot colon before the response that the chatbot actually gives. So before the AI starts replying, I want to print this word chatbot, because if you remember, when the user is going to enter his input, this word U is displayed, right? U and then followed by the user input. Now when the chatbot replies, I want it to be shown as chatbot colon followed by the reply of the chatbot. So that is why I am making use of this print statement here. So here we print chatbot without a new line so that the response appears just next to this chatbot. So that is why I have written that print statement. Alright, now let's come to the most important part of the code where all the magic happens, where we call the Groq API and ask it to generate a response based on the input that the user has given. Alright, so here we have the most important piece of our code. Now let me break this down for you line by line. So here you see that stream equal to client.chat.complete.create. Now what does this mean? So here we are asking Groq's API to generate a chat completion. Now what is chat completion? Chat completion just means we send a message, which is our input, and the AI sends back a reply. That's what we mean by chat completion. And the client is our connection to Groq, which we created using the API key over here. So this is the actual request to the AI model. Now we see model equal to llama3 8b 8192. Now this tells Groq which AI model to use. So this Llama 3 model that we have used here is a version of Meta's Llama 3 model, which is optimized for speed and good general responses. You can swap it with other models like this Mixtral model or even other models which are available for free. Okay, so it is just like choosing which brain your chatbot will use. Okay, now coming to the messages. This is the conversation history that we send to the model. So each item here has two parts. One is the role and another is the content. So role is who is speaking, whether it is the system or the user or the assistant. So here I say role system. That means the system is speaking here and I am telling it that you are a helpful chatbot. So we are telling that model that you should behave like a helpful chatbot because we are building a chatbot here. So the model understands that we are building a chatbot and the replies should be tailored in such a way that it behaves like a chatbot. Okay, and then here we have another role of the user, that is the user who is interacting with this chatbot. And what is the content? The content we say is the user input. What is user input? User input is a variable that we have here which stores the input that the user gives. So that is also passed on to the model. So as we said, the system role sets the personality or the rules of the chatbot. Here we are telling it behave like a helpful chatbot, and the user role is the actual question that is typed by the user. So the AI will look at this list and it will respond accordingly. And finally we have stream equal to true. So this is for enabling streaming. Now why are we doing this? This is because normally the API waits until the whole answer is ready and then it will send it back all at once. So when you type an input, when the response is ready, it will just be thrown on the screen all at once. But when we say stream equal to true, we are saying that don't wait for that complete answer to be there, but send the reply piece by piece as you generate it. So this will allow our chatbot to show the responses live, word by word, instead of printing everything at the end. So that will give us a feeling like how we use the real ChatGPT. Now you see that this whole thing is assigned to stream. The whole function call is stored in the variable called stream. Now this is not a normal string reply. It is actually a generator object that keeps giving us chunks of the answer. That's why in the next part, we are going to loop through it to print everything as it arrives. Now let's go to that part. Alright, so as you can see, I'm using a for loop over here, which says for chunk in stream. And we have some lines of code over here. Let's see what this is used for. Now, like I already told you, when we set stream equal to true over here, Groq does not give you the whole answer at once. Instead, it sends the response piece by piece in a generator. Now, each piece or a chunk is a small part of the AI's reply. Sometimes it is a word, sometimes it may be a few characters. Now, what this loop will do is, it goes through each chunk as soon as it arrives so that it can display it in real time. Okay, now you see there is an if condition here. If chunk.choices of 0 dot delta dot content. Now this is because each chunk has a structure like choices, then followed by delta and content. Now content is where the actual content is there. Now choices of 0 means pick the first possible answer. We are not using multiple answers here. And this delta part of it, it contains the new piece of text that has just arrived. And content is the actual string, like let's say hello, HELLO, that is the actual string that is there. Now, why we are doing this is because sometimes Groq sends the chunks that don't have any text, like for example, metadata. So this if condition makes sure that we only print chunks that have actual words. So that is printed on the screen. Now again, you may be wondering why this in this print statement. That is because normally Python's print function moves to a new line each time. But here we set end equal to an empty string. That means don't add a new line, just continue printing the text on the same line. And flush equal to true forces Python to immediately display the text instead of waiting to buffer. So we are doing all this to make the text appear live word by word instead of having it all at once at the end. Okay, and we have this print statement here in order to have a new line after the response is completely over. Okay, now we have the complete code ready for our chatbot. Let me save it by pressing Ctrl S on my keyboard. Okay, now it is saved, and now is the time to run and check if it is working as we expected. So remember, the name of our file is chatbot.py. Let me just expand my terminal here and say Python, name of the file, that is chatbot.py. Okay, and let's press enter and let's see if it is running. Okay, now we see that our chatbot is running. We see the welcome message printed, chatbot Groq streaming, type quit, exit or buy to stop, and it prints you and it is waiting for the user input. So let me just say hello. And there you see our chatbot is replying. As we said, chatbot is printed, and then this is the actual reply that comes from the AI. Hello, it's nice to meet you. Is there something I can help you with, or would you like to chat? I'm here to listen, to assist you with any questions or topics you would like to discuss. So let me ask it some questions. Let's say I want to ask, what are Armstrong numbers? Now you see, it replies, what are Armstrong numbers? Armstrong numbers are a fascinating topic in mathematics, and it gives you the complete details of the answer. And you can continue typing and asking it different kind of questions and chat with it like you do with an AI chatbot. And you also must have noticed that when the answer were coming, they were streaming, they were coming line by line instead of just throwing the entire output all at once on the screen. That is why we made use of the stream equal to true, and also that is why we have made use of the for loop that was used for printing the chunks in the stream token by token as they arrive. And once you are done chatting with the chatbot, you can stop it by either typing quit, exit or buy. So that is how we have designed it in our code. So let me just type exit, and you see that it says chatbot goodbye, and it broke from the loop and we are out of the chatbot. Alright, so in this video we have built our very own ChatGPT clone in Python, and the best part is we did it completely free using the Groq API. So here's what we learned today. We connected Python to Groq with an API key. We chose an AI model like Llama 3 to power our chatbot. We set up a loop so users can keep chatting. And finally, we made the responses stream word by word, just like the real ChatGPT. Now you can use this chatbot in so many ways, as a personal assistant, for learning, for fun conversations, or even as the base for your own AI project. You can improve it further by adding memory to it so it remembers past messages, connecting it to a GUI to make it more user-friendly, or even giving it a voice so that it can talk back to you. I will be covering more such projects in the upcoming videos, so make sure you hit the like button, subscribe, and stay tuned for more such exciting AI plus Python projects. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.